The AI age has arrived, but does age really matter in this conversation? Because last I checked, getting older doesn't mean you're automatically assigned to a recliner, a remote, and the same day on repeat. Let's bust the myth and make a case for more fun, more learning, and more adventure with AI at any age.
Welcome to Playbook AI Partners Podcast, the show that turns AI from overwhelming into actionable.
Your host, Sandy Kibling, is the chief playmaker, helping business owners and teams stop chasing shiny tools and start using AI in a way that actually moves the numbers, saving time, reducing busy work, and driving growth.
Each episode features industry experts and real-world tactics, providing clear, do this next plays, simple AI workflows, and practical guardrails so you can use AI safely, execute with confidence, and get results.
Let's run the play.
Well, hello everyone, and before we get into the show, I wanted to highlight a few things. Number one, the Signature Playbook Series course. If you want to learn more about the prompting framework and how to get to that one-shot prompt versus refining a prompt multiple times and not getting the results you want, or you'd like to shave off 15 to 20 hours in the old work week, you can learn all about the Navigator and how you can do that. Also, AI with authenticity, how to use AI on your terms, and data security and guardrails. Check out the Signature Playbook Series, which is currently 50% off. 2. Check out the free course, which talks all about the chat platforms like Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT. What are the pros? What are the cons? And which one might work best for your business? It's a free course. Check it out. Number 3, the Winning Edge course, which is all about workflows and automations, due out on April 30th. I get a lot of questions about workflows and automations and how to streamline processes. So this course is going to talk about it from A to Z and help you get started on that. And number 4, community. I wanted to highlight the huddle. The purpose of the huddle is to create that community where you can work with other people, ask questions, and just have that community that you can go to. Also in the community, I have 2 sessions a month. Actually, I'll have 3 in April. But each session is 45 minutes where I will go over a tool or a concept, and then we'll have Q&A. So to take out that AI overwhelm and help you understand a tool and how it may work in your business. I recently did an overview on Perplexity. So I'll drop a link to that. It's currently free. Feel free to check it out. I talk all about what Perplexity is, use cases, pricing, data security, everything that you need to do. It's really a cool tool. On April 1st, I'm actually talking about the Navigator, about what it is and how you can shave off that 15 to 20 hours in a work week, kind of a high level of that. On April 15th, I'm going to talk about automations. And on April 29th, I'm going to talk about a really cool tool, Suno. So make sure, mark your calendar, check it out. Again, the community of the huddle is going to be free through the month of April. Make sure and check out those show notes for all the links. And now on with the show. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. Not done yet, reimagining work, worth, and wisdom in the age of AI. The hype is over and the AI age is here. Does age matter in this conversation? I care for my sweet mom, and she tells me all the time about her day and how routine and boring it is. Can't we change the myth of aging and embracing new things and adventure? After all, just because you're older doesn't mean you're ready for the recliner, remote, and binge watching your favorite shows. To help us get into this topic, I have Lynn Friesth on the show. Lynn is redefining what's possible after 55. At 75, he's an author, an Encore career coach, podcast host, and creator of Lynn AI, the world's first AI coaching assistant for career Reinvention. After spending 40 years in manufacturing leadership at John Deere, Lynn retired in 2015 and spent the next decade building a portfolio career that combines executive coaching, digital content creation, entrepreneurial mentoring, and technological innovation. His book, Not Done Yet: Reimagining Work, Worth, and Wisdom in the Age of AI, challenges the conventional retirement narrative, showing high achieving professionals how to leverage their accumulated wisdom in an AI transformed economy. It's scheduled to be out in May of 2026. He lives his message: experience isn't a liability in the AI age, it's a competitive advantage. Welcome to the show, Lynn.
Thank you, Sandy. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, you have such a great bio. I hope I didn't take away from what you will share, but it's so exciting to share all the great things that you're doing. And speaking of that, tell us more and how it has led you on the journey that you are on today.
Well, when it came time to retire at 65, 10 years ago, I wasn't done. I had a lot of energy. I had a lot of things I wanted to do. So I started, as a consultant, which often I was in manufacturing. So I started a manufacturing consultant. But then after a few years there, especially just after COVID, I had friends that said, well, Lynn, you've done an interesting job putting all this together over the, 5 years. Maybe you should be teaching others how to do this. And so I started looking into that. And a couple things informed me, and my passion for this is one, we're living longer, we're living healthier longer. So this idea that at 65, our grandparents at 65, they might have only had 8 to 10 years to look forward to. So there was only so much planning you had to do. But now all of a sudden at 65, you can have 20 or even 30 years of active and healthy life. So it's another multiple careers practically. There's more things you can do because, again, for people who have been used to doing things, they don't really want to play pickleball for 3 decades. That's just not going to work for them. Now, the other piece of it that informed me was just the demographics. Quite frankly, in the U.S. at least, there are going to be more people over 65 than under 18 in another few years. Whereas in the past, we had sort of a pyramid of people, only a few older, a lot younger. Now it's actually more of a rectangle. There's about as many people that in older age groups. So just to literally maintain our economy, we have to have more people participating in the economy. And obviously that older demographic is a big piece of that. We can't have all these people just sitting on the sidelines, especially when they don't want to be.
No, that's so true. And I appreciate your perspective. I mentioned my sweet mom. She's 85 and I love her to the moon and back, but she's now in independent living. But she does kind of have that unfortunate mindset of, I'm old and there's not a lot I can do. And she's sweet and spicy and a lot of fun. I love what you said about your points. People are living longer and there's so much wisdom, I think, that that we all gain over a decade of living. And when there's so many changes, especially with AI coming on or here, I should say at this point, that really allows people to do things differently, learn differently, and even create new opportunities. So speaking of that, I wanted to ask you, what would you say about experience is actually an advantage in the world of this AI age when most people worry about it in general, but also about being replaced?
Well, I like to say that there's a wisdom dividend that comes as you age, because again, some of the things that we've seen, whether it be the big picture things. So I've been through a couple of recessions in my life. I've seen technology. I started off with a very analog technology called a slide rule. And now obviously we're in, very digital technology. And yet the problems remain largely the same. Humans are still humans. I read an article every day from a thing called the Daily Stoic that talks about these Greek and Roman philosophers. They're describing the same problems we have today. So 2,000 years later, while technology's changed, the people necessarily haven't. So again, what we've had with lived experience, especially that dealing with people, that's something that doesn't go out of style. Now, we may need to upgrade how we talk about it, so we're not just telling old war stories, but that's part of what I want to try to help people do is how do you mine your wisdom, but then make it useful for today's world.
Oh, I love that. And I think that's great because, again, I think about not to keep talking my mom, but because she's an independent living facility, I visit her every Friday. I talk with a lot of people. It's all about how can I keep my mind active? How can I use my years of wisdom and really do something new and feel needed and wanted? And so I love that's one of the reasons why I really love what you're doing, and because I think it's so important. But as we go into this age of AI, I mean, how have you how would you what would you say to someone who's listening? Because there probably are some few of those folks that say, "Look, I know the AI age is here, but I'm too old to start thinking about something new." What would you say to someone who said that to you?
Well, you want to design your future, not just drift into it. So, one of the things we have to maintain as we grow, well, at any age, but as we grow older, is our curiosity. So, the other thing is, yeah, technology can be a challenge, but it's not impossible. We've learned hard things throughout our whole lives. I've obviously learned several different sets of computer type language and those things. So we've always learned difficult things. And so we just need to stay curious and not give up on that. You're talking about your mother. My late mother had a good friend who was in her 90s, and every year this woman had a project. And I think she was 97 when she passed. And her project that year was to learn Italian. Okay.
Mm.
So you just got to, I think, you have to be prepared to take on some, because you don't want to just be there, like you say, binge watching a TV or something like that. I mean, and again, I think for many people who are professionals currently, they're certainly not ready to do that. In fact, it makes their skin crawl to think about just sitting around and doing stuff. So they want to do something. And I'm here to try to help them use the technology, because it is getting easier to use all the time. But how do you apply it where it's needed?
Yeah, there's such a need for that. I have to tell you one funny story though. It just and there's this lady, my mom's best friend is Barb, and Barb is so cute. And I walked in to visit my mom, and I love she had the T-shirt on, and it simply said, "I'm not dead yet."
That's right.
I had to laugh because, and when I asked her, what statement are you making? But it was to the tune, so to speak, of what you were saying, is that, there's so many things that I want to do, and age is what it will be. And maybe I'm not sprinting up the stairs, but I'm still living. I've got my faculties, and there are great things that I want to do. And I love that mindset, because I think, we're all going to get arthritis. It may be harder to move. The knees are going to crack. Maybe you need a knee replacement, but it doesn't mean you can't get up and do something. So speaking of that, I know you're on a mission to help people with that. And you also have delved into AI. So tell us more about how you're doing this and about Lynn AI.
Well, I work with a program. It's called Coach Fox, but they built stuff so that people can, like coaches especially, could create their own AI. So I built Lynn AI, and I use that right now. Anybody can join that. And I've informed that Lynn AI with the things I want to teach, my background, my wisdom, 24/7. People could access that and ask questions, which certainly I wouldn't be available 24/7. And on the other hand, that doesn't replace me entirely, because everybody has a unique situation. And unless you're in conversation with somebody, you may not catch that piece. Lynn AI, as much as I tried to, give it good information, it can't catch all the nuances and stuff that when somebody works with me personally, they would. But still, it does allow me to expand my reach, allows people, because often the questions we have, or the thing that's got us stuck, is not the most difficult question. It's often some simple things that they just don't know or don't understand. And Lynn AI is always there to help through that.
So walk me through a scenario. Let's say that it's my friend Barb, that I mentioned earlier, that's like, oh, this sounds great. Walk me through a scenario of how Barb might be able to use this and or your services.
Because this is new, I do supply people with a set of suggested ideas or prompts. And so I might say, hey, as you log on, you might say, what are the key things I need to think of if I'm going to start an Encore career? Or what are the big roadblocks that I might experience when I start an Encore career? So those are the things that we start with, but it also gets into how do I redo my routines? And now that I'm working, quote, for myself, can do anything I want, what is that? I was defined before in my corporate life by whatever the routine of the workplace was. So now it'll come back and give you some ideas of, hey, here's how you might do at least a minimal structure on your life to help you keep moving forward. So those are just a few of the questions that I might help prompt people. And then the AI will also kind of come back and say, hey, could you give me more information? It's not as good as talking with me personally, but it does do a nice job of interacting.
No, that's good. So when we talk about Encore career, I want to make sure I'm defining that. So you've retired, but you're not done yet. Back to that. So you are creating, let's say it could be opening a nonprofit. It could be starting a dog walking business, whatever it is you want to do. But you're talking about that career after you've retired. And so someone can go in and start by, I'm just thinking through it in my head to put in prompts. Okay, where do I even begin? Because that's what I love about AI is sometimes, I used the example earlier with someone where you walk into a boardroom and it's like a whiteboard with nothing on it. And somehow for a reason it just causes stall. I mean, you just stall on that. You're like, okay, what do I need to put on there? But if you kind of put a prompt in, as you mentioned, you can get some ideas. Oh, this is the first thing I need to do for a nonprofit. Oh, I can think about this. And then any additional, say you want to engage you further, then they could reach out to you and talk further, as you mentioned.
Yeah, and one of the things it's always interesting, again, dealing with energetic professionals, they always want to be doing something. And yet I always ask them to kind of stop back and say, well, think about what you want to be, not just what you want to do. So again, my AI will kind of do a little prompting. And again, the prompts I've put in are just, they're things to start you thinking. Often people say, like you mentioned the blank whiteboard. Well, try to give them at least a few things, and then it'll come back and prompts. You might say, well, what are possible things I could do? And it'll come back and say, well, what are things you've done in the past? And in fact, that would be one of the exercises I would ask people to go through. I call it the Glean method, but it's literally listing out the things that they've done in their lives that they enjoyed, not the jobs or the positions, but literally the activities. And from there, start saying, hey, I enjoyed solving complex problems. What would that suggest? And it'll come back and say, well, maybe you should work in this, especially if they it's more like I enjoy solving complex problems and I want to be in the nonprofit space. Then all of a sudden you can start drilling down a little bit. And so those are the work. Now, the other thing I will say just in general, while it's focused on, often the Encore career, but it's really saying you want to have a portfolio life. So also, again, we'll say, how do you want to divide up your activities in your life? And maybe for the next 5 years, there's seasons, maybe there's 5 years after that. Maybe the first 5 years is recreation and travel. But she says, I know that's not going to go on forever. So how do I prepare myself for maybe doing something a little more serious in the following 5 years? So it's that kind of space. And again, having that AI that is trained on my thinking and my processes is just helps everything along and gives you some leverage.
So it sounds like you've taken your years of experience to input into Lynn AI to kind of cater it to that audience. And what I love about what you said is to provide those um, I wanna say answers that are just thought provoking. That's
Mhm,
what I love about AI is I go in there and I happen to be teaching a session this morning on perplexity, but one of the things I love about perplexity is it comes up with follow-up questions. I'm like, "Well, heck, I never thought of that." That's
mhm.
great. Let me dig deeper. So I love that. So let's say that someone tell us more about your services. So someone says, "Okay, I've got a great idea, but I have the points of what I need to do." Do you coach? Do you help people through that? What are some of the services that you offer beyond Lynn AI?
Well, actually, I have a second version of Lynn AI. The free one is Lynn AI. Now I have Lynn AI Pro that goes into more. If Lynn AI free is the why and the what, a Lynn AI Pro gets more into the how. And then I also offer, it's sort of a membership group kind of a thing where we will meet and I'll share some trainings and stuff like that twice a month, those kinds of things. And then beyond that, I form up, well, they call them masterminds, but it's peer groups where what I've found in my experience is being with others who are on a similar journey, maybe not the same one, but a similar journey. You learn a lot as much from a guide like me, but you learn as much from your fellow travelers. So it'll be a group of like 10 to 12 people that are saying, hey, we're going to get together for 6 months, create the map that we're going to use for our journey and our Encore life, and then we'll see what goes from there. So those are kind of the 3 levels of what I would offer people.
I love it. That's so awesome. And I was thinking, I know we'll probably talk more about this too. I think that out there is because I do similar stuff, but in a different way. I think in general, if I'm thinking about online courses, and I still think those are great because I think there's so much AI out there and it's changing so quickly. You just have to stay on top of things. But what I love about what you said, the community and the membership really is just the community. When I go back to my mom and her friends just saying, I'm lonely, I don't have a lot to do that day, but having that community, and if mobility is an issue or whatever it is, I love the fact that a community is just going to allow you to connect with other people and have vibrant conversations and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
I think communities are almost becoming a bit bigger because there's so much you can learn and to your point, teach. So I love what you're doing on that end. And we'll make sure and link to your website so they can look at both versions of Lynn AI and what you have up and coming. Now, tell us about your book. I said in the beginning that Not Done Yet Reimagining Work, Worth, and Wisdom in the Age of AI is targeted to come out May of 2026. What can people expect from that book?
Well, again, it'll be a distillation of all the things that I would work with people in person on. The flow of it is going to be we start off working on what's your new identity? Who do you want to be in your Encore life? Then we'll work on, well, what's the wisdom you bring to your Encore life? Then from there, we'll start working into, okay, what's the market for the wisdom that you have? Or do you want to have a particular arena, maybe nonprofit, maybe for profit, whichever. But then we'll start doing those things that as I was a corporate professional, I didn't know how to market myself. I didn't know how to be an entrepreneur, didn't know how to do all these things because I didn't have to. Well, now all of a sudden you do. And so I'd step through and say, here's the resources you need to actually create your business, what you need know about marketing. Not that I'm a marketing expert, but I can, again, help people find the right resources and tools. And I will say that AI, even in the last few months, has really changed this whole idea of starting your own business. There's another program that I've been using. It's called Sintra, Sintra, and they have 12, they called them 12 little bots, but one's on copywriting, one's on helping you work your emails, one of them's on business development, one of them is on social media. So there's all these little tools that now are pretty straightforward to use. And so I've just been amazed at what we could do even as a solopreneur. But having said all that, a solopreneur is still a lonely life. So that's where the community comes back in. And that makes all the difference because, you can get lost with your AI and in your head about what you're doing, but a community can help, I'll say, bring you back to earth or as well as help you hold you accountable to advance.
I think the AI, not to get totally philosophical on that, but I think one of the things I tell my folks too is it's the discovery phase. Every day is a new day and there's a new tool and a new way. And it's just being open to the new things and being open to discovery. And so it's just a different age, but it's so exciting. I do get excited about AI and the possibilities that it gives so many people to do something different. And it doesn't have to be, when you talk about the Encore, it could be, writing a book. It could be, writing a memoir. It could be just so many things that you can do, I think. And I appreciate, again, all that you're doing because it really helps people think about the opportunities that they have and what they can share. I always think when I sit with my mom, it's like, I don't want to miss the stories that you've told because, if we forget our history, then it repeats itself. So I always appreciate that. Well, we'll make sure and link to your website. I'm sure that when your book becomes available, you'll note that on your website as well. And any community or membership stuff you have will be there as well. Now, as we draw to a close, I always like to leave with you any final tips or closing thoughts that you would leave listeners.
Well, this whole idea of, leaving corporate life and being independent, it's not just one thing. Somebody says, do I have one big purpose? And I'll say, no, you may have several purposes. You get to decide a lot of stuff. And there's going to be seasons. So, for example, a couple of years ago, I was helping my mom through end of life. And so I had a season there where I was really focused on her. I stopped my podcast during that time. I didn't advance a lot of activities. I just focused on her. And that will happen. For example, in some cases, people may retire and spend a whole lot of time with their grandkids. But you know what? Grandkids grow up. So the idea is, what do you want to do maybe for the next season, but then be thinking about what future seasons might look like. I've worked with some financial planning people, and they have a thing they call that your retirement will be go years, slow go years, and no go years. And you can plan, in their case, they're talking about planning money, but it's really, you can plan for how your activities fit into those things.
That's such good advice and good insight there. And I love the saying the seasons of life because I don't care if you're 22, 32, 42, we all have those seasons in life. And I think AI will bring us so many opportunities to that end. Well, Lynn, it has been a pleasure chatting with you and gaining your perspective. And I appreciate what you've done with Lynn AI Pro, and your community and membership and your book. I mean, just some great things that sounds like great pearls of wisdom that people can gain that knowledge from and have their Encore career. So thank you for your time and expertise today.
Thank you, Sandy. I appreciate it. It was wonderful having a conversation with you.
I enjoyed having Lynn on the show. Check out the Lynn AI tool and other resources on his website, noted in the show notes. In our next episode, I have a great discussion with Sean Griffith. Sean is a longtime SaaS operator turned founder and the creator of Truffle, an AI-powered interview platform helping small businesses hire faster and smarter. Sean thrives on big challenges, but after years of early morning calls and late-night dashboards, he made a bold pivot, leaving corporate life to build his own company and reclaim time with his family. Now, as a founder of Truffle and a dad, Sean is on a mission to help others find a better balance between meaningful work and meaningful moments. Until next time, take action, execute, and let's run the play.